You're gonna love it. that would be wild, but unlike you, Michael, I've embraced this low sleep, and I'm just. It's not just Ben Johnson; it's also Caleb Williams. No, it's not. It's not that big of a surprise, but I found at Party City since they're closing and it was on deal. We went to Party City because Julie was like, "Oh, they're going out of business. We should go check out their deals." And yeah, found that, and then like a bunch of stuff we threw in like prize boxes for Max and Addie. It's like $10. I was like, heck yeah. No. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. You can hear me all right, right? Okay, cool. Okay.
Welcome to Barely Maintaining, the ultimate podcast for die-hard Chicago Bears fans. Join your host, Ryan Burheit, and me, Michael Guyton, as we dive into all things Bears. From game analysis and player insights to the latest news and fan stories, Ryan and I cover it all. They're cheering from Soldier Field or your living room. Barely Maintaining keeps you connected to your favorite team. Now, let's get ready to bear down. Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. It is Saturday, January 25th, day before the championship, AFC, NFC championship games, and it is our 28th episode of Barely Maintaining. So welcome, everyone, this week. We do have a lot of Bears news to talk about because there's a coach hiring, and some parts are moving around. So with that being said, let's first talk about any other news outside of that, I guess. Or if you want to talk about that, you can. But what do we got around the league?
Yeah, so there's been a bunch of hirings. Let's see. I know that Pete Carroll went to the Raiders, or is working on that deal. Pulling it up now because for some reason it went away.
Oh, you're good.
See if it will pop up. Latest NFL news here. Watched none of the coaching hirings be on here.
We've started to see a few off-season pieces moving around.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of coaching news here and there.
Jets hired Darren Moggy, I think is how you said his name, as the new general manager. So they're kind of making some moves because obviously that's kind of been ran fairly poorly lately.
Mm-hmm.
Then, see, I know that the Cowboys moved up there. I think he was their offensive coordinator. But he moved up in the ranks for them into head coach. So, and I know that a lot of fans weren't necessarily super happy about that. They didn't think it was a great hire. Offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer as new head coach, I believe.
Brian Schott. So he's either the son or he's obviously related to Marty Schottenheimer, who was a Chargers head coach.
Oh, okay.
In the LaDainian era, early 2000s, maybe-ish. So he had some good teams and has a good name around him. I don't know anything about Brian personally, though.
Right.
That was the Cowboy hired him, right?
Yeah, he was. Okay, I believe he was their offensive coordinator, and he just moved up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which I get the fan base questioning that because it's like, well, what did we get?
Right. It wasn't. You're not making a huge jump there.
Yeah, and it's weird that he sticks around. Mike McCarthy's gone too. It's like, well, isn't it kind of more of the same thing,
Right.
but with less?
Yeah, I would say so. Then Robert Sala is returning to the 49ers as the defensive coordinator.
I think that's a great move for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's Robert Sala
Great coach.
needed to be going back into a defensive coordinator at least. I think he was kind
Yeah,
of screwed out of the Jets job, to be honest. Give me one second. We
yeah,
got a ton of action over here, and I just want to look at it really quick. Uh,
sure. Real quick, while you're looking at that, I'll just mention that they that that Dutch job, he had it pretty stabilized over there, and they kind of blew the whole thing up to get Aaron Rodgers, and that started this kind of where they're at now. So that's the way I see it, anyway, from a layman's perspective of looking at it. Um, they don't. They make me feel a little bit better about the Bears franchise and the fact that they seem to make pretty poor decisions because they had it pretty good. Um, Obviously, they needed a quarterback there. Sam Darnold wasn't their answer, but
right.
you know, with a second-ranked defense, and a couple great wide receivers, Sam Darnold didn't look like a bad QB in Minnesota. You know what I mean? So
Right.
anyway, just going off on a tangent on the Jets there, but I think Alan Williams was a good hire.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just
Let's see.
getting their defensive back. But again, it's like you had Robert Saleh. You could have just
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is probably out of there, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I would assume so to the Vikings.
It would be just kind of
It needs to happen.
yeah, for sure.
In my opinion, it needs to happen. What is going on here?
But yeah, I mean, they got a stacked quarterback room, or did
Yeah.
5 quarterback room this last season. So
It looks like Chip Kelly is back in the talks for NFL teams for offensive coordinator.
oh, really? Nice.
Yep, I saw that. The NFL fined the Commanders linebacker Luvu for that helmet-to-helmet hit against Jared Goff.
Yeah.
So I know that was kind of a.
It wasn't called.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a huge turning point in that game too.
And you're calling a bunch of stuff that was questionable for not that crew, obviously, but for Kansas City, in the same weekend. So it's just very kind of blatant.
Yeah.
I saw statistically, though, because everyone was complaining about the Kansas City getting calls. They actually have the same amount of calls as every other team. They don't get any more calls, which seems odd, but they're just big calls. You know what I mean? It's 15 yards on a 3rd and long and stuff. So,
I did see something with the Pete Carroll head coach hire for the Raiders. I saw that it was like Pete Carroll gives up NFL Super Bowl to Tom Brady for future hiring under his command because Tom Brady has part ownership in the Raiders.
Yeah.
Felt like he owed him one. Then I have seen some stuff with the ESPN reported that the NFL is eyeing some new replay rules that could affect the it seemed like it was going to affect the calls for penalties. I just pulled it up here and it. Okay, why does it do that? Why there it goes. It'll include the quarterback slides and expanded replay assist. So with some of his fake slides and stuff like that are kind of getting penalties, it'll look at that.
Yeah, and I'm more of an advocate. Like anything that's over like 10 yards, penalty yards for or against a team should be able to be replayed or looked at to make sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, don't they have somebody looking at every play anyway in New York at every game?
Yeah. Yep.
Or can't somebody just be like, hey, no, that's a bad call or that's a good call or you missed one there or whatever, I don't know. It just it seems like it's really easy.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah.
Why You have like 70-year-old dudes that have other jobs and stuff doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
don't
can see it
understand.
both ways for sure because
It's not a league of its own in itself. You know what I mean? Just
yeah,
the ref in the NFL.
yeah, I could see it going both ways where it's like, well, how is that guy's judgment of a call better than this guy's judgment of a call, kind of a thing where it's just kind of back and forth. But I think there needs to be a look into it where, like, some of these big calls that nobody really wants to affect the game should be able to be looked at. But that opens a can of worms of like during the like just to bring this up, like during the Washington game, does that mean the Bears should have been able to call a review on holding or anything like that was happening? Like so it kind of opens that.
Under my stipulation, no, because holding would be 10 yards. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So anything that's over 10 yards would be reviewable. But you wouldn't be able to on a no call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the replay, that's what New York's for. They should have been like, hey, let's look at that line or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that ends the game and wins it for somebody. At
Yeah.
least like, hey, 10-yard penalty, replay that down.
Yeah, I agree.
Get one more shot at it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But you got to be 10 back further. I don't know. I guess human error is kind of part of it. The humans you're using are like 60, 70-year-old dudes trying to keep up with the fastest people on the planet.
Yeah.
So, and let's be honest, there's got to be some bias in there.
Yeah, it's tough.
These guys grew up in the United States. If you grew up in the United States, you almost certainly rooted for an NFL team, right? I mean, especially if you're into the officiating of it.
Yeah.
Probably been into it.
Definitely.
I don't know. Thoughts on it. Who else was hired around the league? I know we got a bunch of hires, right?
Yeah. What is
that? Let's see here. You got Mike McCarthy hired yet?
I don't believe so, actually.
I feel like he's going to the. That's the only job left open.
Yeah. Unless he just goes straight to coordinator again, but that would be shocking. I wish they had like a spot where you could look at like the coaching carousel.
Yeah, they have the GM. They have like an NFL coaching tracker here on the NFL.com. One nice thing about all these hirings is the Lions are kind of getting decimated, so we'll see what they are without.
Yeah, later on when we talk about that, we've taken like the whole staff. Oh, he got hired. Where did he go? The defensive coordinator for the Lions got hired.
Yeah, we talked about Alan Williams.
Did we? Okay, I didn't remember if we said his name.
Yeah, went to the Jets, which replaces Robert Saleh, which he's kind of like a Robert Saleh guy, and now you're getting rid of Rodgers, so you just kind of held yourself back for 2 years to get Rodgers for no reason, and lost the coach that was building something stable.
Yeah. Have you seen all the complaints by Lions fans that like these coaches weren't interested anymore, and that's why we lost, or this and that? It's like I think this is a really funny situation for the Lions to be in because honestly, like I'd feel the same way as a Bears fan because we haven't felt that in a long time. Of your team is so good, this is what happens. Like your coordinators are now going to be being hired in these situations. Like this is just the norm for good teams. Like
us after 2018, Vic Fangio left.
Yeah.
Go be a head coach of the Broncos.
Yeah.
I
actually saw Matt Nagy was looked at for the Saints as well at one point.
Really? That's one thing I did want to mention too. That story for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Did you hear that with Liam Cohen? That was a crazy thing. So Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and so he had Baker Mayfield pretty much singing along, doing great there, and he was in talks with the Jaguars earlier in the week, But at a certain point, um, decided I'm going to stay the offensive coordinator. They offered him the most lucrative offensive coordinator contract in NFL history. So he's like, I'm going
Yeah.
to stay. Then Jaguars fire Trent Baalke, their GM. Next day, Liam Cohen's their head coach. So it was a power play or it was weird. It was a back and forth. He said, no, I'm not going there. I'm staying, but then backed out on the Buccaneers to go there and be a head coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what happened this week.
Must have
For
liked
that
that. Must have liked him as a GM then.
I don't know if it was a power play by him, if it was like, or the ownership wanted that guy as a coach and the GM didn't. But yeah.
Yeah.
While we were scrutinized, well, the Bears, I should say, not we, but we're scrutinized for our kind of search. I think it went a lot smoother than other people's.
Yeah. And I think we did all those hires to see if Ben Johnson was the right answer. Like, he seems to be very excited and ready to go.
In this hiring cycle, I think you had to do your due diligence too, because there was so many job openings. You don't know that he wants you. You know what I mean? What are the chances that he wants you as well as you wanted him, you know? Because he was like the hottest commodity on the market this coaching hiring cycle.
Right.
I felt the guy got fired for not – I felt like Trent Baalke got fired for not getting Ben Johnson because they wanted him down there in the Jaguars. You know what I mean?
Mm. I heard the Raiders wanted him, the Jaguars wanted him, and then
Raiders
we wanted him.
Real big. They were in real big, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think we're and I think, I mean, he kind of blatantly said it. Caleb had a lot to do with that decision.
Yeah. It's the idea. I think Raiders would have been a lot more compelling if this was the year of them, like, if it was a good draft class. Like, you take the Raiders and look at them in a good draft class for a quarterback, they're a compelling team. They've got a decent offensive line. They've got some weapons. Like, they've been kind of piecing together some weapons over the years. And they got a good defense. So you take a good draft class and you put that together, like, that's more compelling than. But I think the Bears are so compelling because you have DJ Moore locked up for 4 years. You've got Rome Odunze for 4 or 5 years. You've got Caleb Williams for the 4 or 5 years. You've got a defense that's on great weeks. They are very, very good. On bad weeks, they are still good. They're not awful defense by any means. And
you got Chicago versus Las Vegas as a city in general. You know, it kind of plays into it because you got a family,
right?
Or in this case, Ben Johnson has a family. You know what I mean? So I think Chicago seems like a more of a family city.
Yeah,
especially the suburbs. You know.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what. By the way, I don't know what Caleb's fashion choice was to that meet and greet. That was weird.
He said it was Matrix. He said it was like this last season. He was in the Matrix.
Yeah, it just was so odd.
Literally what he said. Okay.
I just saw. I was like, what? Because I saw one video and he's opened the door for Ben, and he thought he was the door guy.
Yeah, I know. And he's like, oh, I'm he's like security. You got Blade for security. I'm all for expressing fashion, but every time you wear something, like, they're just gonna get shredded for it.
Yeah,
it's like, damn.
He's just got that personality of how he is. Yeah. I don't think it's a bad thing, but like he does the fingernails.
In, it's the same thing. Like his dad is clowning him. He's like, "That's a purse," you know. Like, he's like, they were arguing about it and stuff. It's like, you don't know fashion, you old man.
It's the Russell Westbrook effect, though. Like, I think he was the first guy to be like so popular and have such a the popular more fashion forward apparel. Like a lot of guys would show up in the suits, the sweats and stuff, and at least for my generation, like Russell Westbrook did kind of broke that barrier of like, no, we can be like Fashion Week in here.
Now it's just like when I was a kid, it was like only very few dudes really made it stand out like that.
Yeah,
It was either like your cut or it was like the Deion Sanders, like prime time. You were
yeah,
like highfalutin, it just kind of evolved more. And I think there's like more little side characters you can be now that people are cool with, like
yeah,
anime fan, like Jalen Johnson is just kind of weird in his
yeah,
fashion and, suits, but with shorts on and shit. It's
yeah,
and a 3-wheel and stuff, you know what I
yeah.
mean?
And then you got is it Jamal Williams? That's the running
I
back.
like that aggressive. I will say that. They
Yeah,
just it's every time like, oh man, they're gonna get shredded for that one, you know what I
yeah.
mean?
No, well, I'm
My
digging
guy.
through comments to see what kind of people's opinions are because I'm trying to bring that to the podcast and kind of look into
Yeah.
that. It's like now I gotta cipher through all of the freaking why is Caleb dressed like this type of or why is like it's like I don't need to read all these like these aren't important by any means. It's like what do the fans think about this hire for Ben Johnson? What do they think about all these things? Like those are what I'm kind of trying to see because like not that it's trying to change my opinion, but like I'm very curious what hey, I'm excited about this. What is it? I mean, what's everybody else feeling this way? Because it does seem to be sometimes the majority right now. I would say is very excited for the Ben Johnson hire, but there is a pretty good chunk of people that are like very scared of the first time head coach hire, like to
Yeah.
get this situation straightened out. Because there was a lot of people that originally were kind of our 50-50 battle was hey between me and you was like, do we want that big explosive offensive guy or do we want that team builder guy, the guy that can be the leader of men type of guy? We were back and forth on that a lot too. So I see where they're all coming from. It's just kind of that. So I was just kind of been reading and trying to see if it seems to be leaning one way. It does seem to be everybody's pretty excited about this hire, which is very cool.
He seemed to be the kind of most sought after coach. I
Yeah.
think that's why there's some excitement. But let's let me tell him about the Happy Can real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about your feelings and thoughts and kind of uh yeah, quick correction too. It's Aaron Glenn.
Yes.
Is not Aaron Williams. I called him Aaron Williams. It's Aaron Glenn as the head coach of the New York Jets now. So yeah, tell him about the Happy Can. We'll come back and we'll talk about the Ben Johnson hire.
All right, Bears fans, before we dive back into the game talk, we've got a shout out to today's sponsor, the Happy Can.
Yeah, if you're looking for a refreshing way to unwind after a long day without the alcohol, but with all the chill vibes, the Happy Can is definitely where it's at.
Happy Can is a lab-tested, vegan-friendly, alcohol-free beverage that's infused with THC and CBD. Whether you're kicking back at home or catching up with friends, it's the perfect way to relax without the hangover.
Exactly. It's crafted for those of us who are over 21 and want to enjoy the benefits of THC and CBD without any of the alcohol. Plus, it's delicious, responsibly sourced, and did we mention it's vegan friendly?
Yep, no sketchy ingredients, just pure chill in a can. So if you're looking for something new to sip on, grab yourself a Happy Can and keep those good vibes going.
Make sure to check them out on buythehappycan.com and use code BarelyHappy for a special discount for just our listeners. Cheers to a happy, healthier way to unwind.
Happy Can, because life's better when you're chill.
All right, everyone. Make sure you check out the Happy Can. Yeah, so it was the most sought after coach in the coaching cycle, and we got him. So you know what? But I will say this: I saw the first video I saw of them coming in and him clapping. My first comment was, "Everyone, shut up and get back to work." Yes. I'm not getting excited about Ben Johnson until we start accumulating wins regularly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's more surprising that we lose a game than we win one, and it's going to take maybe a whole season. If not, it doesn't take at least a quarter of a season. At least more than just a preseason of being undefeated. You know what I mean? I want to see sustained winning and good coaching decisions.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I will say I bought more into Eberflus when they hired him because I was just more optimistic then about what
Yeah.
the Bears would do. Things did change though with this hire because they paid him, I believe, $13.7 million,
Yeah.
which puts
Which
him in
is
the top 10.
yeah. It was a crazy
Um,
move.
um, uh, yeah, it's huge. And Ben Johnson, is like reportedly, I'm so happy to be, yeah, $13.7 million. I'd be happy to be anywhere.
Yeah.
Uh,
But you have to
with
pay him that because I feel like with all the teams that were chasing him, you have to pay him. Like, because the Raiders
and
were willing to pay him.
it also proves that him being the best guy, let's say the best coach available this season, or the best, at least the most highly sought after coordinator turning into coach, um, because the expectations and kind of what he sets, the standards he sets, I think is kind of the big reason for
Yeah.
that. We went out and paid what it cost to get him,
Yeah.
instead of the guy that was the least expensive or more affordable over, which I think we've done in the past. So Gasky ponied up, and I heard that he did not want to pay, and everyone looked at him and was like, "This is how we win," and he's like, "Let's do it." And
Yeah.
so keep that attitude. I hope he's got my email that I sent to him hanging on the wall. But again, it's like everyone should be embarrassed in that. You shouldn't be clapping for Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
You should welcome him there and then get to work. Like, how do we start building a winner? You know what I mean? Like, let's do it now.
Yeah.
Because it has to be kind of stripped down to the studs. If it's a culture thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I did see Thomas Brown is getting an interview as the Seattle offensive coordinator, so that's pretty cool for him. I'm still rooting for him.
He'll get a job.
Yeah. I think especially the way he turned it around, like for the Bears, like I think he did a great job to end the season.
Yeah, and I think he's a good culture guy. You know what I mean? Accountability wise and stuff. But it's like when you're handed the keys to a car that's already heading off the cliff, it's hard to straighten up. But I was kind of like daydreaming that it'd be nice to have him on the staff at some point, but Ben Johnson's building what he already kind of knows.
Yeah, and I wanted to get into that a little bit because I think these are accurate. I haven't heard for sure, but it sounded like Antoine Randall L. I know we're in works with to get him as our assistant head coach and wide receiver coach. Al Harris as the defensive passing game coordinator.
Okay.
And then JT Barrett as quarterback coach.
Yep, I saw that.
And then there's a lot of talks that Dennis Allen will be our defensive coordinator, which would be sick. I would be okay with that.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his defense.
Yeah.
And I think you need something like that as your defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Like what they have in Kansas City is Spagnuolo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't do a great job as a head coach,
but can bring that head coach attitude and straighten them out.
Great defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Well, I think having that experience helps coordinator. You know what I mean? Because you don't have to worry about everything else. But now you have that experience too.
Yeah. What's an offensive coordinator do when the head coach is an offensive coordinator? They just basically do the groundwork.
Yeah, and I think kind of like it's a melding of the minds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think Ben Johnson's going to be a offensive play calling head coach.
I would assume so.
Similar to Eberflus on defense. You know what I mean? You probably get a position guy in that. You know what I mean? Somebody who's like a quarterback coach or whatever. Or a former quarterback, and then you kind of have two birds with one stone there.
Right.
And you're going to need offensive coordinators coming in if you build a good program. That's where it's like this is the first big step for the Lions because they're good enough to where all their all their coordinators are gone.
Their whole
So now it's
staff.
like, yeah. So now you have to, can you rebuild and maintain that flow, like the Chiefs did and the Patriots? I mean, look at every year their coordinators went up. And that's another thing. Daniels is going back there.
They reload and get
So
like Chip Kelly or something. Like how ridiculous would that be?
they're, they're totally building like the mid 2000s Patriots team with
Yeah,
Vrabel as a head coach now instead of as a linebacker,
yeah,
which is funny. Yeah, so I like the choices for Ben Johnson based on what I've seen from those guys in Detroit.
yeah.
Because Randall L was wide receivers, and it's like, look at their wide receivers.
Would you see like? Have you seen like his like videos of like him running with the wide receivers down the sideline with them and stuff? Like,
Yeah,
he's an energetic coach, and that's gonna be awesome. I also
similar to
saw that.
we have,
Yeah,
from Hard or whatever.
yeah. Man, I almost wish it was this year though. It would have been fun to
Mhm.
see this coming together as well. Not
Yeah,
that it's not. It wasn't fun to see it last year, but yeah, it'd be cool to go to training camp this year.
yeah, yeah. I
See
think
all
we need to
that.
try to make it an annual thing if we can.
Yes.
Um,
See how good Max's pictures come out this year.
yeah, and we know to kind of where to get set up, and if we can get there earlier, even be
Yeah.
better because we get a spot
Yeah.
under those bleachers and just kind of post up,
Mm.
or wander around because it's fun. To the listeners that have a time during the summertime, you can kind of have to get into a room and be first come first serve, but the tickets are free to certain days of training camp. They have a bunch of stuff you can do there, activities and giveaways.
Very family friendly. It was so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And a lot to see. And, you can see practice, but they're not giving away a lot, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. They did the
Other than,
very simple
than our,
things of run some routes and
we saw like what we figured out to be true later on in the season, like that Gerald Everett can't catch.
yeah.
Yeah. We saw him standing 5 feet from the jugs machine and not catching anything, which I know it's coming out at a high velocity, but
Yeah. But
so
it's
like,
still tough to watch.
it's your
Especially
job.
like when it comes down to
I don't know if
this
he had any
when
catches this year, did?
I know he had at least like two. But I know
Okay,
he is
see.
more known as a blocking tight end. He is the blocker, even though for whatever reason they use Komet as a blocker for all like a ton of times. But
Um,
I did see Keenan Allen's three places he's going to go this offseason or stay with the Bears or one of the LA teams. He wants to either go back to the Chargers or go to the Rams. I assume he just wants to go home because he played
yeah,
for UCLA. He's from that area. Like, I assume he either just wants to go home or stay with the Bears and ride this out and have some fun. But I would really love for him to stay one more year because he really became Caleb's just kind of safety net.
yeah, definitely. Would say he's leaving. Who's on the market? Do we know? Players that are on the free agency that might be available that would be interesting to have.
Yes, I saw. Let me pull it up really quick.
Let's see what sporttrack.com has here real quick.
Yes.
Let's go to
T. Higgins is coming up. He's one that's
yeah, that's
a free agent this year.
obviously oh man. 20 million. Mari Cooper hasn't caught nothing.
Stephon
Chris
Diggs.
God injury, I believe, right?
Yeah.
The list is long.
Yeah. And you're not looking for like a crazy guy here
Man, the
either.
way different at the bottom as you get down there. I mean, look at 22.5 mil for Stephon Diggs versus Max Holland's a pretty good one from Buffalo. 2.6 million. He's not bad.
Yeah.
What's YOE mean?
IOE.
Oh, yeah. I think it has something to do with the years in the league or something. Because it says their position, their age, and he's been in the league 12 years, I assume. That's what it says there for YOE.
Oh yeah.
Market value 16 mil is probably going to cost. We have the money.
What about D Hop though? That would be as your safety net.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. You'll see what he's capable of this week, I think, tomorrow.
I
He's on the Kansas
forget
City.
him and Keenan Allen are the same age. For
Yeah,
whatever reason,
that's
I
interesting.
think D Hop is way younger.
I was just going to say, it feels like DeAndre Hopkins is younger. Mari Cooper's 31 or 30, almost 31.
Yeah. Allen Robinson.
T. Higgins 6. That's a pretty good deal. T. Higgins would be the one, really.
Yeah.
And I would go T. Higgins
And he's
and
young
Romo
too.
on the outsides, and then you put DJ Moore in the slot.
Yeah.
Then you get someone to pair with Cole Kmet,
Yeah.
which I say is a free agent and not.
And you could get T. Higgins for 4 to 5 years and secure your offense.
Free agent tight ends coming up for 2025. We got Tyler Conklin, Juwan Johnson, Mo Ali Cox, Harrison Bryant, Farrell Brown, Austin Hooper. He's 30. Zach Ertz is coming up. That's one thing about this Washington team is there's a lot of one-year guys on there. You know what I mean? And as far as they made it, their prices all went up. So I'm hoping we don't see them back because I just cannot stand seeing this team win. And I can't believe a team's making me root for Philadelphia, but I am this week.
Mercedes Lewis come back for his 20th year.
Huh?
Zach Ertz is going up.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Tight ends are pretty cheap.
Mercedes Lewis is still out there.
Mo Ali Cox is like 8 foot tall.
Oh, Mercedes is 40.
Yeah.
19 seasons. That's a heck of a run.
You got to come back for 20, right? Even if it's just the same role as you had like for the Bears. You're just kind of there.
You're hard up for tight ends really this year. Yeah, you should. Whew.
I would
It'd be nice to have.
I would kind of love to sign Marcus Mariota as a backup.
Yeah.
He's a very secure backup and could help Caleb learn how to be a pro a little bit better.
Sure. I don't mind, though, personally. Don't mind Tyson Bagent.
I like him. Don't get me wrong. I just don't love that your veteran backup to Caleb is only started 4 games.
No, for sure. There isn't no veteran backup.
That's,
you know what I mean?
That's what I don't like. Because I would have even taken Rippon to help be that guy.
Let's be honest. They're both in the same position when it comes to Ben Johnson coming in because it's a whole new thing. They all have to relearn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're both rookies essentially. You know,
where you get an Andy Dalton or a Marcus Mariota or somebody like they know how to flip that script really quick and learn those things quickly and get like that. Like so that's where I'm kind of I wish like we could get somebody cheap to kind of just teach Caleb how to be a pro. Huh?
You know who I'd go after?
Who's that?
AJ McCarron.
He's been a career backup, hasn't he, for quite a while?
Yeah, and I think he's been playing the UFL.
Yeah.
Hops back and forth.
Yeah, he plays in the offseason and comes back, right?
Yeah. I believe. Or he has been. Yep. So let me tell them about dead threads here, and then we'll come back and talk about who we think, I guess, the looking ahead in this draft, and then who we think these upcoming games. What you're thinking? Obviously, I was horribly wrong on that national championship, which we can talk about as well.
Yeah.
If you're all about expressing yourself through what you wear, then you gotta check out Dead Threads. They got the most wicked collection of t-shirts that scream individuality. Want vintage vibes with your favorite team? Dead Threads has a tee for every vibe and every occasion. Whether you're chilling at home, hitting the streets, or even hosting your own podcast. Use code BARELY for 10% off. Oh. So, yeah, Ohio State. I think it was more emotional that I was picking Notre Dame anyway. I felt like I knew that Ohio State was a better team. I mean,
yeah. I made that video. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was good. But both good teams, and it was cool to see kind of the shakeup in college football world with how the playoffs played out. You know, because I don't think Notre Dame would have been there otherwise. Ohio State probably would have been. Maybe not with that late loss to Michigan.
Yeah,
because it was kind of hung over their heads. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting seeing it move forward though.
Yeah.
Everyone's on them now because they had 20 million in NIL money, you know, so it's like the Dodgers of college football.
Which they're just doing. The Dodgers are just reloading.
Yeah.
They got that Japanese guy.
I'm signing like 7-year-old Japanese kids to contract just to make sure they have it to them. Yeah, the Dodgers did, but well, and that's kind of the feeling, I guess, around the. If you're not a fan of Ohio State, that's what they feel like, you know, that everyone else feels like that they've paid the good ones to come there. And it's not just by, you know, having a great school with a great program. Even though they do have both those things, I guess. I'm still angry at them for Alabama back in 2015.
I'm just messing with something here really quick, but I'm still listening.
Every year it was.
We can go get some Iowa boys in the off for the free agencies.
And also, I seen actually some early projections, and if depending on how it shakes out. Side note to all that, during this draft, we might get a couple third-round picks if Ian Cunningham, our assistant general manager, the assistant to Ryan Poles, it's a job as a general manager, which he's kind of been taking. He's actually been in that Jaguars looking at. Jaguars have been talking to him.
Yeah.
If he gets that job, we get 2 compensatory picks in the 3rd round, I believe.
Oh, really?
In the 3rd round. Yeah. I'm not super confident. I want to see. I'm not going to get excited about the draft picks until I see them actually playing good.
Yeah.
All 4 Caleb and Rome, and I think those were good picks. And you know, there's other picks mixed in there, maybe. But if he's going line, either defensive or offensive, he hasn't been great at picking those. That's why I'm just going to be pessimistic out the gate until I see some actual play. But I would like to see them go insane gangbuster offensive lineman first, personally, in this draft.
Yeah.
But I don't know who's available. Probably some guys from Iowa would be fine. But that's what I was going to say to you. I mean, how does Iowa compete with that in the Big Ten when you got $20 million being handed out, you know, to kids to play?
Yeah, it's rough. Like, I don't...
Especially if you're a wide receiver or, you know, kind of one of those positions that's you know, or a linebacker that, you know, that Ohio State's known for, you know?
Yeah, we just have to continue to rely on being that um build within team. Basically, there's not a lot of like yeah, we kind of go get some of those players that are um here and there that we can go pick up. Like we got the South Dakota State players, but for the most part, it's definitely just um
You know what helps is putting together wins too.
yeah
Just I note off that I saw an interview with Nick Saban, and he said one of the things that really helped him recruit early on was he was one of the first coaches to let ESPN just come to his practices
yeah
instead of it being a secret thing where they didn't show anybody. So that kind of got a lot of exposure to him for one, and it showed kind of how they did things, and it got kids kind of wanting to come there. So he's like, it helped with the recruiting, which brought success, and it all kind of. He's like, so just keeping an open mind to things like that, just having somebody there at your practice, made his made his football program better, in the long run. So he's
yes
like, you just gotta weigh all options and look at all things like that because it matters. It does. Even something as simple as letting ESPN come to your practice and film.
yeah doing these
So
tours with like I know Busting with the Boys does like the tours to different uh locations and like all those like being the type of coach that lets those guys in is very like that's I mean that's what kids are seeing is like on TikTok or on YouTube or whatever it is like they're seeing those like campuses and they're like getting pumped about those campuses because they give them tours and you get to see all that stuff
yeah,
like and you get to kind of see the like how like you are watching these podcasts and stuff and like how pumped they are about those like oh that must be a great place to go then because they both played college football and they're getting pumped about these places.
I um I think it definitely uh well obviously now it's a different world with exposure and stuff too, it's kind of everywhere and you can't really control it anyway. But I think having a successful program um is what gets kids to want to go there, especially this day
Yeah,
and age. But there's a lot of great athletes out there, so they can't all go to Ohio State,
right.
you know.
The other ones go to
So
Alabama.
those,
But
uh,
you
there's a
end up
couple
with
of
like kids like Caleb Johnson and stuff.
Texas is giving away freaking Lamborghinis to kids. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you
Yeah,
compete with that?
yeah,
Um, we'll see. There's got to be a kind of a figure it out at some point. But I will say it's like you definitely have to have the right balance at any school with not taking yourself too seriously and kind of being playful about the whole thing and rivalries and all that, but also having a serious program, right? And like getting
right,
the job done. Um,
right.
and the schools that do that, I think, have been successful, especially lately because of the way social media and all that works. It's like kids want to go there. But look at Carson Beck just went down to Miami and he got like I think $4 million to go down there.
Yep,
He's getting more than the rookies
yeah,
from the NFL basically for contract wise.
yeah. Which like
You know,
how is the UFL and stuff like that are not going to be able to survive just on that alone. They can't pay these kids.
no,
And
no,
they're going to be
I don't.
expecting a ton of money.
I don't know. I honestly do not know how you do that, other than maybe you get like casinos
Yeah,
to and gambling sites to sponsor your team.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I
And
have
when I was
trouble.
saying, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I have trouble following it because it's kind of off season. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I'm also a other sports fan, a semi. So there's basketball and there's college basketball, which Alabama's pretty good this year. So
I
it's
haven't
hard to
been able
follow.
to get into it much. Um, I know
I did
that.
just lead Iowa to a national championship my freshman year,
Nice.
just so you know. But Kirk Ferentz isn't the coach; it's some young redhead guy. So,
I don't think he signed the contract to be a part of it.
oh really?
Yeah,
Bonus for me.
yeah.
We do a lot of.
when I was saying we could get a bunch of Iowa guys on the Bears, um,
Yeah.
CJ Beathard is a free agent this year. Who's in my opinion, a good backup. I think he's been in the league for like 10 years. Just as backups
Yep.
for like the 49ers and the Jaguars um, but then you got James Daniels could come back to the Bears. Except for he's not a center anymore. He's a guard, so he switched. And then
He wasn't a good center.
no,
Was he a center?
yeah, he was a center he came out of college as a center.
Because I don't think we played him much at center.
He wasn't. I don't think he beat out our guy, but he was good enough to kind of be a guy on the team. And then he's played for the Steelers after that, but he's coming up on free agency. And then Brennan Scherf is also on free agency if we want a veteran at guard as well. So, and then I also saw like Ryan Kelly's coming up, Zach Martin. Like, there's some big offensive linemen on free agency this year.
So, and just to sidebar that, the sporttrack.com has the 2025. I'm just looking at centers specifically.
Center specifically.
Free agents. Not a whole lot. 31-year-old Ryan Kelly, Coleman Shelton, who was already on the team that we're not going to re-sign, probably, I would imagine.
Yeah.
26-year-old Nick Harris. Nobody that really... YOE is probably years of employment.
Oh, yeah.
I had to guess. Now that I guess, but there's nobody on the... my point being is there's
Josh
nobody
Myers.
that blows your mind. Josh Myers, okay. Yeah.
And he's young, too. Like, I mean, a veteran, but also young.
Josh Myers signed a 4-year, $5.5 million contract with Green Bay, including 1.4 signing bonus in 2021. Average annual salary. So he's on unrestricted free agent, but they might re-sign him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Might want to go back there, but into Ohio State.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I don't know. My point was I think it's better to look in the draft or...
Yeah.
No,
I just want to also get some veteran pieces there.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of both there. Because I seen that there's not a high potential. What's that?
It's so hard to build a good line.
Yeah. And it takes time.
Let me look at left tackle real quick. Cam Robinson.
I did see that. I saw that we're most likely not bringing Tevin Jenkins back.
He's not bad when he's available, but he's not going to ever be available for all the games that we need him for.
Yeah. I got
two guys in that spot then, you know?
I went to, like I said earlier, I went to Party City. They had their football cards discounted. They had apparently like packs of football cards for like $5. So I bought some. What? I got a 250 point redemption. With the points, I could buy a signed Darnell Wright card. I was like, oh, that might be fun to have. Like, it's not obviously going to be one that's like worth a ton of money, but it's like, that might be fun.
He's the one I want to build the line around, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I love his blocking stance. He's so awkward looking, but he's actually good.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Kind of that it's like unorthodox.
Yeah. Because he stands like straight up.
It seems like he is, for sure.
Yeah, I thought that'd be kind of fun to have his card, his autograph card.
They did sign a bunch of players to like reserve or future contracts.
Did they?
Theo Benedette is one of them. Chris Glazer, Offensive lineman Chris Glazer, wide receiver John Jackson, linebacker Carl Jones, defensive lineman Jamri Roma, Austin Reed, the quarterback, offensive lineman Ricky Stromberg, wide receiver Samori Toure, and tight end Joel Wilson.
Plot twist. Ben Johnson chooses Austin Reed over Caleb Williams.
No, he was like he mentioned while he was in the middle of the season, he loved like he stood on the sideline and the sound of the ball going by.
Yeah.
When Caleb was throwing. So I think that's gonna be for better or for worse. That's what they're gonna build around his strength. That's what he said already, but talk is cheap. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think he will be better for Caleb than what Caleb's had. Because Jared Goff's looked like a really good quarterback, minus a couple games. One of them being this game against Washington.
Because when Jared Goff, I know he passed concussion protocol, but that man seemed a little concussed.
He's making bad decisions.
Yeah,
honestly, on some of those throws. But I will say that that's not a problem you have with Caleb is throwing interceptions.
No.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that already kind of not one of the issues. I think the timing of getting the ball out. I think throwing the ball away sometimes.
He's got to get through his reads faster because I think he was, last I saw, it was like 3.2 or something like that is where he's at. So he needs to definitely get down to like mid-twos for that.
But part of timing too, because like I was watching some playbacks of like during the season, and there'd be like 3 wide receivers in like a 5-yard area of each other. You know what I mean? All covered essentially because there's 6 guys in 5 yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like those things I think help when you know what? You only have to read these 2 guys, or you only have to read between the numbers or whatever. You know what I mean? Just keeping it simple. Then you can quicken it up a lot more. Okay, he's going to cut across. If this guy drops down, then you go here. You know what I mean? Just make it as simple as possible. Is my thoughts. I mean, I'm not an expert by any means. I think it was like they try to do like too much, like make it too fancy.
Yeah.
And just simplify.
Yeah. Year 1 is not the year to be making crazy play calls on a rookie quarterback. Like, let's simplify it. Let's make the easy stuff. And then maybe later in the year we can bring some of those stuff up. But, like, why are we making it crazy? Why are we not relying on Roshan and Swift to start that out and then kind of doing those play actions and quick throws and stuff like that? Like, instead, it's line up in shotgun and throw a shit ton of passes.
Like, I'm okay with a screen pass, but not on like a 3rd and 7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you need it when you know, like, it's going to beat out a pass rush and stuff. You know what I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'm not even as, like, against a screen at 3rd and 7. It's when it's 3rd and 7, and every 3rd and 7 we're doing a screen pass. Every 3rd down is a screen pass. Like, that is where I'm like, okay, they know, like, a screen pass is used to surprise the defense. You're using it as this is just what we do.
Yeah. I'm optimistic about the offense being better, but I am keeping my excitement level down because I do not want to be disappointed, and this thing might take time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's get a couple more wins.
We got this set up for a little bit. So, there's not any worry about Ben Johnson wanting a different QB because I think part of the reason he's here is the QB, which is what's happened in the past. And I think you have some pieces you can build around all that offensive line if you do it right. I think Darnell Wright's good. I think that Amagaji could be good, given a lot more experience. Because he was just outmatched, I think he's a smart kid and has capabilities if, he gets plenty of time. Yeah. Or it's just good backup, you know what I mean? And building depth there, but that takes time. Yes. You get the players, especially that line, because, again, we just look at the list. It's like, who would you even pick? It's like the same guys that we already have on that list. Sam Mustipher, he used to be a Bear 5 years ago, and he's, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
It's like, so to have a guy like Jason Kelsey, center. It's like that's what I want to find in this draft. The Joe Alt.
Yeah.
I don't know who that guy is this year.
Yeah,
But
take some of those veterans that are your good
somebody
veterans. Yeah.
Ohio State senior lineman.
Yeah. And then grab a couple interior defensive linemen or an edge rusher as well. And kind of, because one of the things I loved early in the year when the defensive line was healthy was they just kept rotating them. They were always fresh. So that was, and like they were doing a good job at penetrating and stuff. And like our defense wasn't the problem at all early in the year. It was the fact that our offense couldn't get anything going.
Well, honestly, the defense became a problem after Eberflus had already kind of was gone. There was like, because I think he was the defensive call coordinator, really, and was the play caller on defense. And once he was gone, it was kind of like, what are we playing for?
Right.
On the defensive side. Because there wasn't very good tackling and all that stuff during San Francisco and Patriots and some of those games. We probably were a better team then.
Yeah. Did you see there's a Chicago TV personality that did a interview with Ben Johnson, and he's like complete hypothetical, and like started going through the if you're playing the Lions and you've got a minute left and you're driving and your quarterback's running down the field and doesn't realize it and clock's running and what do you do? And Ben's just going like this the entire time. It's just a crazy shot at Eberflus. Just help that quarterback out just a little bit. Like,
yeah,
that was funny.
Especially a rookie.
Yeah.
I do like that we did get that last win on the books though.
Undefeated 2025 so far.
And can live the whole offseason having beat the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Because it's just eating them alive in some of the podcasts I've seen from their end.
Yeah. Well, especially like they should have won that game.
Yeah. And then of course them doubting Ben Johnson now is, his capabilities. Even though when
that is a funny thing I'm seeing from a lot of like ESPN personalities and stuff is like this is the craziest switch up is like Lions fans being such huge fans of Ben Johnson and then he leaves and they're like, no, he sucked anyways. We don't like him. Like, what?
And then he probably wasn't even concentrating this last game because he was a head coach. It's like,
yeah, you guys have just not been in this position in a long time.
In a Super Bowl,
right?
Could have made more money.
Yeah.
Man, it felt good to get him as far as the coaching carousel goes, and actually getting not disappointed because we said weeks ago I said that's who I was all in on at this point because at the very least, he can run a good offense, and that he is different than what we've had as far as the culture wise. At the most, he might put together a great team, and we might just be sustained winning.
Yeah, I might be late on this, but I also saw it an interview with Kevin Byard with Tillman, and they were talking about they're going back and forth between the peanut punch and stuff like that, and takeaways and how the Bears are still using it so effectively, even though Tillman's been away from them for what? Over 10 to 15 years, right? Almost? No, 10 years. Over 10 years.
I don't know when his last. I will say that he kind of changed the game because if you look at it's a punch. It's not a try to strip the ball away. It's
they're
in and knock it.
They're throwing haymakers at the ball.
Yeah.
Like Jalen Johnson, one of the last games of the year, I can't remember who exactly it was against. But he freaking just like pop just reached over, punched straight out, and just popped the ball out. Just like super easy, and then we got the ball back. It was like, oh sweet. Like that's super easy. It's just but Tillman would just freaking come up and just literally just start punching the crap out of your arm until you drop the ball. It's like you're going to drop the ball, or your arm's going to be dead for the next time you run the ball. Good luck.
Oh, I think that was also part of it. You sustain a bunch of those,
Yeah.
and it does soften you up a little bit, right? To like holding the ball. Let me tell them about Fanatics, and we'll come back and want your picks for this week's championship games moving forward. And then we'll close it out for this week, our 28th episode.
Hey guys, just want to take a break from the podcast to tell you about Fanatics. Fanatics, you can find everything you need to support your team, from jerseys and hats to hoodies and accessories. We've got it all. It's officially licensed, so you know you're getting the real deal. Here's the best part. We've teamed up with Fanatics to bring you an exclusive offer. When you use the code 24SHIP at checkout, you'll get free shipping on orders over $24. Just by using our special link in the show notes on our website, you'll be able to directly support our podcast. So head over to fanatics.com, put up the best Bears gear, and use code 24SHIP for free shipping on orders over $24. Win-win. To show off your Bears pride and help keep Barely Maintaining going strong. Thank you for your support, and as always, bear down. Now let's get back to.
All right, we're back. So tomorrow, I think the first game, I believe, is the Washington Commanders versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
Is it them first tomorrow?
I think so. I think that's a 2:00 game, if I'm not mistaken.
I couldn't remember. Yep.
Who are you taking it?
The Eagles have beat them twice this year.
No. I think the second time they didn't.
No, that's right. They won on the last second.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're 1-1. So I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah.
I'm like somewhat rooting for the Commanders, just because it is a cool. To me, it's a cool story. Like
You're right. I'm not saying you're not. It's not a cool story. It is, like, as a Bears fan, like in purgatory, I want that to happen to us. So it's like, well, it can happen in one season, right?
Yeah.
But after what they did to us, I just cannot root for them. Sons of bitches.
Putting that aside, it is a very cool story to be seeing this happen.
Yeah.
And I see all the we should have taken Jaden Daniels. We should have taken. I think both of those players are where they belong. Jaden is very in like the place he belongs. Caleb's in the place he belongs. Like I think both of those situations are great for both those players. So I don't think I'd redo it by any means. That being said, I'd also love to see Saquon get his get to the Super Bowl and kind of get to have that. I'm kind of split on that one. Especially Philadelphia -6 is pretty wild to give them that big of a spread when Commanders just put up like 45 points against the Lions, which is insane.
But you do got to look at they just lost Deron Payne, Commanders, so defensive line is hurting because that's a big piece of it. The other thing is Saquon Barkley's run over for like 140, 130 yards every time he's faced him in the win and loss. He's averaging over under for this game is like 130 yards, which is insane for them to put for a running back. Like that's where your benchmark. Like, so I think it's going to be hey diddle diddle Saquon up the middle, quite a bit in this game because Jalen Hurts' knees hurt, and defensive line is. I think it's going to be Eagles. I just think they're grinding now, and the experience is there.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be hard for the Commanders to get over that. I just say I think it's going to be a good game. Like, and you got to look at like, Saquon ran over him last time, but they still won.
Other game though, too, there was a bad call, and Sauce Gardner booted out for like speaking words or whatever.
Yeah.
They lost like a key piece of their defense, you know. I think they've been.
This is a great AFC NFC championship weekend.
They have to. They're playing on house money. They don't care. Like, it's all on the Eagles to win it, really.
Yeah.
Because they're the one that's going to look
Which
like
is
losers.
what I think is helping the Commanders.
Yeah,
They're
definitely.
supposed to lose these games. They have nothing to lose.
I will say, though, if Bills don't win, I'm probably not watching Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If it's Chiefs again, I'm probably not interested in whoever they're playing. I say that, but I'll probably watch it because I want to watch them get beat by somebody.
Yeah. Still have hope for that.
Yeah. But man, they really want the.
I just think for the fun of it, I think Commanders. I think they just got nothing to lose.
And then, are you taking the Bills or are you taking? Because I'm taking the Bills.
For the love of God, I think it would be great for the Commanders to go to the Super Bowl. I want Josh Allen to get his. Like, I want Josh Allen to get a Super Bowl because I think he's really good. What's that?
Goes there and gets beat by Jaden Daniels. It's like the most Bill thing to do.
Son of a!
They went to 4 in a row and lost all of them.
That's insane. That's so wild.
As long as we have, rather than that happen.
Yeah. So I think it'd be fun to. I hope the Bills make it. Like, I hope they win. To be honest, but
that team is sustainable on how their offense scores points.
Yeah,
because they run the ball a ton.
And they re-signed Micah Hyde, so he'd get a Super Bowl win too.
Plus, I mean, dude, this game you have Josh Allen and Haley Steinfeld versus Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
Yeah, and Caitlin Clark.
And Caitlin Clark now.
Yeah, she's on the board with it.
And Jackson Mahomes.
Oh, God.
TikTok influencer extraordinaire.
Yeah.
He's what's going to bring him down.
A Iowa Hawkeye is guaranteed to get into the Super Bowl, though.
Yeah.
There's an Iowa Hawkeye on every team. There's also a Iowa All-American, like the Iowa football All-American game or whatever it is. There's one on every team.
Nice.
For football. So like the Iowa high school All-American MVP or whatever it is, like there's one of those on every one of the teams.
Very cool.
So every high school, every one of the teams has an Iowa high school MVP. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I know there's some Alabama players in there besides Jalen.
Yeah. Do you count Jalen?
Yeah.
Because did he finish as a Bama or did he finish as Oklahoma?
He literally got benched for Tua.
Yeah. And
after winning a national.
And then he went to Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think so. I mean, I claim him still. He did not graduate from there.
It's just like I still claim like
he had some good games, man, and he would have stayed there hadn't Tua come along.
Yeah, I mean it's just like me claiming like Tyrone Tracy Jr. is a Hawkeye in my opinion. He spent 3 of his 4 years of college or 4 of his 5 years or whatever it was at Iowa, and then he went and played at Purdue. And then like Charlie Jones, who's the Bengals returner, was a Hawkeye for 3 of his 4 years of college. So like, I claim those guys.
Go by feel, and he kind of feels like an Alabama guy still to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because his run there was really good and only surpassed by Tua the following years.
And it was just because he was having a bad little stretch of a half, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't even bad, really. It was just not as good as what Tua was capable of at that time.
Yeah.
Tua's brain was like perfect at that time. It hadn't been bashed in a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you got Eagles Bills?
That's what I would love to see. Yeah. Only in the fact that because Commanders, I'm just sick of hearing the Jaden Daniels comparisons and all that too.
Yeah.
How great they are and how great he is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It would be cool to see a
But-
Chiefs-Eagles rematch.
Yeah, but honestly, anybody but the Chiefs at this point, it's just getting boring.
Well, yeah, 100%. I'm just looking for the bright side of any of these matchups.
Yeah, for sure. I understand that. It's been a cool year though. It was for college football, and it has been for the NFL. I think
Yeah,
only because the NFC was like the greatest division in like NFL history, and just bang, bang, bang,
yeah.
knocked out.
I will say the only thing I had a downside for the playoffs for college is seeding. I think seeding was a little just odd. Like Oregon being the number one team shouldn't have had the hardest game.
Yeah.
Like that was just odd to me, but I think that's the only thing they really have to look at because other than that,
Sure.
that worked out perfectly
Let's say-
too.
Good, you got to be get anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Definitely, Ohio State didn't have a very hard path. It didn't seem like, to
yeah,
other than late,
yeah.
But anyway, 28th episode. As usual, want to thank Julie Burheit and Lindsay O'Brien for giving us the time to do this. We got 28 episodes in the bag, which means we've been doing this for 7 months. It's pretty cool.
Wild.
Want to thank our sponsors as usual. Make sure you check out the Happy Can, Dead Threads, and Fanatics. And as usual, tune in next week. We'll talk about who's going to the Super Bowl. We'll talk about hopefully some more hirings. I'd like to see a defensive coordinator come in and we get that set up and going. So if there's going to be changes, you got to start working on that early.
Yeah. Be nice to just have everybody set up for the off season.
Yep, exactly. And then we can get it moving as soon as possible. That being said, we'll see you guys next week. Awesome. All right, brother, I got to jump off. I have to go to the bathroom so bad.
No worries.
Been holding it for like 40 minutes, it seems like.
237 likes on our live
Nice.
for TikTok.
Dang, that's cool.